So, starting with Kimmi, she made a comment that really hit me. She said that Martel feels like Maurice is basically just an extension of Marsa. And when I thought about it, she's not lying. Because think about it, every single time something pops off between Martel and Marsa, Morris is right there. Not only is he right there, but since he's Marsa's brother, it automatically makes him a target. Martel already knows. If things really get heated, Morris is going to side with his brother no matter what. And honestly, that's exactly what happened at Madani. Y'all remember that fight? It wasn't just Marsa and Martel. It was Morris jumping in too, making things worse. And trust me, Martel hasn't forgotten that. In Martel's mind, if Marsa's going down, Morris is going right down with him. That's why Morris keeps catching strays in all these conversations, because Martel knows they're a package. Deal? Now, when Kimmi said Martel feels jealous, I really sat back and thought about it. And you know what? She's right. Martel has always acted like he was the better husband compared to Marsa and Maurice. He always brags about being more active with his kids, doing more around the house, trying to paint himself as the one who had it all together. But here's where the jealousy comes. Martel is the one who lost everything. He lost Melody. He lost his family unit, and the whole world knows about it. Meanwhile, Marsa and Morris are still at home with Letitia and Kimmi, building their families, even with all the cheating rumors floating around that eats Martel up inside. In his mind, he didn't do anything worse than what they did. The only difference is that he got caught, and it all played out on camera. Let's not forget that scene when Martel and Marcel were arguing, and Marcel threw it in Martel's face. He said, "Yeah, but I still got my family." That was like pouring gasoline on the fire. That one line cut Martel deeper than anything, because it reminded him that while he's out here single, fighting with Orion Curry, losing credibility, Marsa still has Letitia holding it down at home. And Marsa knew exactly what he was doing by saying that, because he loves to poke at Martel with those little slick jokes. The problem is, you can only poke the bear for so long before the bear attacks. And Martel has reached that breaking point where he's no longer just clapping back at Marsa, he's dragging Morris into it too. And listen, this is where it gets even deeper. Kimmi tried to dismiss a lot of what Martel was saying, but she did call out something important. She told Morris that all this energy he spends trying to check Martel could be better spent on his son, Monster. And that part really stuck with me. Because Kimmi is basically saying, why are you trying to guide a 40-something-year-old man when you could be guiding your teenage son? This is a vital time in Monster's life. He's becoming a man. He's getting ready for his future, and he needs his father to be fully present. But instead of focusing on that, Maurice is more worried about saving face, protecting his image, and making Martel look like the problem. That's selfish. And Kimmi hit the nail on the head when she said it. Now, don't go anywhere, because this next part really shows you how layered the drama is. At home, we saw Letitia with Marsa and their daughter Machi. Letitia wanted them to promote her hair care products more, and we got this little moment where she was oiling Machi's hair and talking about her business. For once, it actually looked like Letitia was really trying to market her products. Then we got a cute little back and forth with Machi about who the favorite parent is. And while it was lighthearted, you could tell Machi really has that same energy. As Marsa quick with the comments, playful, but also a little shady. That moment was cute, but it also reminded me that this family has a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't always see. Then things took a turn, because Marseille started poking fun at Miss Nell being a life coach. Now y'all, Letitia is slick, because in her confessional, she threw shade too, asking who gave Miss Nell her certificate. That was bold, especially coming from someone who constantly brags about having multiple degrees. And let's be honest, people have questioned where Letitia's degrees came from 4 years, so her shading somebody else's credentials was ironic, to say the least. But this is what Letitia does. She smile to your face, but then in her confessional, she goes all the way in. Before I continue, I need you to stick with me here because it gets even more explosive. Don't click off, don't go anywhere. Because what happens with Destiny and the conversations around Martell are wild. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to see just how messy and calculated all of this really is. So here's where things really start to unravel. Remember when Destiny and Martell had that falling out? A lot of people brushed it off as just another friendship turned sour. But if you look closely, you'll see it ties right back into this bigger picture with Morris, Marsa, and the Scotts. Destiny once said Martell didn't really know how to be a true friend unless he was benefiting somehow. That's a heavy statement, because what she was really implying is that Martell uses people as chess pieces in his battle against whoever he's beefing with at the time. And if that's true, that makes sense why he would constantly bring Maurice into the drama. Maurice isn't just a brother to Marsa. He's another pawn Martell can call out to prove a point. And let's be real, Martell has been playing this game of deflection for a while now. He doesn't like when the spotlight is on his mistakes, so he'll quickly pivot and drag somebody else down with him. That's why every time Morris speaks up, Martell reminds everybody of the Madani fight, or brings up the fact that Morris and Marsa have their own skeletons. He wants people to look at their dirt so he doesn't have to sit in his. You're paying attention. You can see how calculated that is. Now, here's the kicker. Kimmi mentioned that Maurice needs to redirect his focus toward Monster, but there's another layer to that too, because let's not forget, when Monster's mom has spoken out in the past, she hasn't always painted Maurice as the most hands-on father. And that's something fans haven't forgotten either. So when Martell hints that Maurice doesn't really have his household together, he's striking at a nerve that's already sensitive. Morris may act like he's cool, calm, and collected on camera, but Martell knows the pressure points. He knows exactly what to say to get under his skin. Now flip back over to Marsa and Letitia, because their little scene with Mechi might have seemed lighthearted, but it told us a lot. Marsa continues to downplay Letitia's business moves, and honestly, it's giving the same energy as always. He's dismissive until it benefits him. Fans have been saying for years that Letitia has the degrees but lacks the confidence to stand on her own without Marsa co-signing. And when she shaded Miss Nell's credentials, it almost felt like projection. Because deep down, Letitia doesn't like when other women step into positions of authority or credibility. She wants to be that woman in the group, the one who's respected. But the problem is that her own husband won't even take her seriously half the time. And speaking of Miss Nell, don't think for a second that shade went unnoticed. Because what Letitia doesn't realize is that discrediting Nell could actually backfire. Miss Nell may not be a licensed therapist, but she has influence, especially when it comes to Melody and some of the other women on the cast. Letitia trying to undermine her only makes her look insecure, and it proves that she's still in competition mode with anybody who might outshine her. Now, looping this back to Martell, because this man stays at the center of the storm. He's in everybody's storyline, whether they like it or not. Martell is in constant survival mode, clapping back at Marsa, side-eyeing Maurice, dismissing Destiny, and still trying to hold on to whatever piece of credibility he has left. And let's not even get into the fact that Ariane Curry is still lingering in the background. Because every time Ariane speaks out, she reminds the world that Martell hasn't completely cut ties with her. That alone makes it impossible for him to fully move forward. The real truth is, Martell is spiraling in plain sight. He wants to prove that he's still that man, the father, the businessman, the one with all the answers. But the Scotts aren't letting him forget that his empire fell apart and Melody is thriving without him. And trust me, nothing makes him more bitter than that. But hold on, because the most explosive part is still coming. When you see how all of this ties into Destiny's bitterness, Nell's coaching, and Melody's glow, it becomes crystal